Welcome to the old Clinton Burying Ground. In Clinton, New York, there is a quiet burying ground tucked between Norton Avenue and Kirkland Avenue, shaded by old trees and bordered by the village's everyday life. It isn't a hill and it isn't dramatic in its layout, but the stories held here are some of the oldest and most haunting in Oneida County. This is the Clinton Burying Ground, established in 1788, a place where the earliest settlers, soldiers, children, and unnamed souls were laid to rest. Today we step into its history, its tragedies, and the lore that has grown around it for more than 2 centuries. The burying ground began with tragedy. In the spring of 1788, Marab Tuttle, daughter of pioneer Timothy Tuttle, attempted to cross the Oriskany Creek. There was no bridge then, only 2 logs laid across the water. He slipped, fell, and drowned. Barnabas Pond, another early settler, carried her body to this spot and buried her. Her grave became the first, a cemetery born from loss, and from that moment forward, the ground began to fill with the stories of Clinton's earliest families. Nearly 50 veterans of the American Revolutionary War rest here, along with soldiers from the War of 1812 and the Civil War. Many were Connecticut militiamen who settled in Clinton after the Revolution. For more than 200 years, many of these patriots lay in unmarked graves. Even Captain Moses Foote, leader of Clinton's first settlers, had no stone to honor him. Only recently were new markers placed for 14 Revolutionary War veterans whose resting places had gone unrecognized for generations. The land remembered them even when the stones did not. But beneath the surface there are more. Local historians estimate that dozens, possibly over 100, burials are unmarked or unnamed. Early settlers, infants, laborers, indigenous people, and African Americans were buried here without records. Some graves were marked with wooden boards that rotted away. Others were never marked at all. When you walk the burying ground, you are walking over people whose names were erased by time. The land itself carries national history. In 1783, George Washington and Governor George Clinton purchased a 6,000-acre tract in this region. Many early settlers came here because soldiers were paid with parcels of this Washington tract. The people buried here lived on land tied directly to the earliest days of the nation. But history is only part of what lingers here. The other part is the lore, the stories whispered by locals for generations. Some say Marab Tuttle's spirit still watches the creek. People walking near the old crossing point have reported hearing a sudden splash, followed by a girl's voice calling out, even when the water is calm and no one is nearby. There are stories of soldiers too. Residents have claimed to hear the metallic clank of musket hardware or marching gear coming from the burying ground at night. A few have seen figures moving between the stones, only for them to vanish when approached. The most common sighting is a man in old militia clothing standing near the center of the cemetery, facing the village as if still keeping watch. Others speak of lights, small blue or white orbs drifting low to the ground, weaving between graves. Some believe they are spirits. Some say they are the unnamed dead trying to be seen. A few locals claim the lights appear most often near the older, unmarked section where the wooden markers once stood. There are also stories of voices. Soft murmurs, like a conversation carried on the wind. A woman humming. A man calling out a name. People describe sudden chills, the sensation of being accompanied, or the unmistakable feeling that someone is standing just behind them when they turn to read a stone. Today the Clinton Burying Ground is technically an abandoned cemetery. No foundation, no official caretaker, no funding. The town of Kirkland mows the grass, but the preservation of the stones, some hand-carved, some crumbling, is done by volunteers, students, and local historians. The last burial took place around 1920. Since then, the burying ground has become a place of memory rather than mourning. A place kept alive not by obligation but by devotion. The Clinton Burying Ground is small, but within its borders lies the entire beginning of Clinton. Its tragedies, its wars, its forgotten founders, its unnamed dead, its diverse communities, and its lingering spirits. When you walk here, you're not just moving through a cemetery. You're moving through the first heartbeat of Clinton.